What is going on, guys? My name is Kenji and welcome back to my channel. Hopefully it's not the first time you're watching one of my videos, but just in case it is, I'm a fourth year medical student and a biomedical science graduate studying King's College London. And as some of you guys might know, right before I started medical school, I actually did 3 years of my biomedical science degree, as you guys can see behind me. But I spent 3 years in university studying biomedical science before I ended up making the decision to switch to medical school after I graduated. And there's a number of reasons why I did this. I definitely put a lot of kind of thought into the decision of becoming a doctor, and in this video I'll be telling you guys the exact reasons as to why I decided to leave biomedical science and kind of science behind and pursue a career as a doctor instead of a research scientist. I want to start off by saying that by no means am I talking down on biomedical science. It's an absolutely amazing degree. I loved it so much, and I'm sure I would have had a happy life in biomedical science as well. And having said that as well, loads of my friends who are still in biomedical science now are very, very successful in their careers, so it is a great thing to go into. But I'll just be speaking about the personal reasons as to why I chose to not pursue a career in biomedical science. I also want to say that the only kind of experience that I had in biomedical science was mainly working in research laboratories, doing research with cells. I haven't actually worked anywhere else in the industry, so I'll purely be speaking about what it's like being a research scientist, doing research in a lab in comparison to medicine. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So the first reason I decided to become a medic instead of a biomedical scientist purely is because I realized that if you go into medicine to become a doctor, you could actually be both a doctor, a clinician, and also a scientist as well. During my time in biomed, as I did work experience in the labs, and as I worked in the labs, I came across so many doctors who actually ran their own labs and had scientists working with them and also for them. That to me sounded absolutely amazing. The ability to do both, to kind of like help patients today, treat patients today, get that kind of like immediate burst of pleasure from actually helping people today, and also working towards helping people in the future, for me just sounded so amazing. And the idea of being both a doctor and a scientist together for me sounded much better and much more appealing to me than just being a scientist on its own. And even now, as you guys can see behind me over there, that's my first publication I had in research, which I got in my second year of medical school. So I've actually continued to engage in research, and I've flown to Taiwan, to Greece, to loads of different places around the world to continue my research projects. Go check out those videos if you haven't already. But I've actually continued to engage in research as well, and if you become a doctor, you're definitely able to continue being a scientist as well if you wanted to, and that's the first reason. All right, I want to quickly stop the video here, guys, just to say please take 2 seconds out of your day to give the video a thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed as well, and turn notifications on so you know whenever I'm posting. It helps so much. This whole YouTube algorithm thing really is annoying, and it really helps these videos reach more people and inspire more people as well. But back to the video. The second reason I decided to continue medicine is to do with kind of career stability. As soon as you become a medical student, you straight away know that in 5 years time when you graduate, you'll be guaranteed a reasonably well-paid job, and you definitely will have that position waiting for you. You know exactly what your path in life will look like for the next 5 to 10 years if you do already know what you want to specialize in. And that for me, the career stability combined with the financial stability looks so appealing to me when I was in biomedical science. When I looked into career choices after biomedical science, to be honest with you, I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do. The career prospects look so heterogeneous and just so different, and I'm sure if I did put in more time into researching what I wanted to do after and what you can do after, then I would have found maybe a job that is stable and is financially stable as well. But in my research, I kind of felt like medicine versus biomed at the time, medicine for me seemed like the more kind of financially stable and more career stable job compared to biomed. Again, this is controversial and this is just personal to me, but also at the same time, I met so many scientists in biomedical science who were my supervisors and friends as well, who told me that right now they do have a contract to run this lab, but the only way they'll be able to keep this lab here and keep their job is if they continue to release research constantly that is groundbreaking and contributing to the field, and as long as they can do that, they will have their job. But that contract was only for a couple of years. Every couple of years they had to apply for funding to continue to have their research job in the lab, and that for me just was a bit scary. Again, that's only talking about one aspect of biomedical science, which is the research aspect. There's loads of different jobs you can do, but for me that's probably what I would have wanted to go into, and that's another reason that kind of took me away from biomedical science. Adding to that point as well, when I was in college, a lot of my teachers in chemistry and biology actually had PhDs themselves, and I asked them, you have a PhD, how come you decided to go into teaching? Why didn't you go into research research or working in the industry. And what they said a lot of the times was that they actually did have a lab they were running themselves at a well-known university. They had a master's degree, a PhD degree, and what they told me is that they actually lost their funding for their lab, again because they weren't able to continue with the high kind of research output, and for various reasons they actually end up closing their lab and becoming a teacher instead. What I have been told as well, this may not statistically be right, but what I have been told is that getting the actual funding to become a principal investigator or the leader of a lab is extremely hard. I think the percentages were like less than 10%. So if you want to go into research to run your own lab, the chances of that are also extremely competitive. Again, there are loads of different things you can do in research, but that's another reason as to why I decided to become a doctor instead of a biomedical scientist. The next reason I chose to do medicine over biomedical science was I felt like the kind of day-to-day life of a scientist just didn't suit my personality, and I was more suited for medicine. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love working as a scientist. I have spent literally months at a time working in a lab with my cells, following protocols, doing experiments. I absolutely love all of those things. But to do that every single day for my whole entire life as a lab scientist, for me, just didn't kind of match up with what I wanted to do day to day. From my experience in working in labs, the times where I've really enjoyed working in the lab has been to do with people who I meet in the lab. I've had amazing experiences in the lab where I've had so much fun day to day because I've had really interesting and kind colleagues, but I've also had extremely bad experiences in the lab because the people I've been with have been quite unsocial, or sometimes I'm even on my own in the lab, and that for me was quite difficult. The reason being is because working in a lab is very independent in my opinion. Of course you do have like research meetings, you do talk to people in your in the offices and over lunchtime, but your actual time in the lab can sometimes be very independent. You and your cells all day, pipetting all day, and sometimes you may have a lab partner, sometimes there may be other people in the lab, but actually also sometimes you can be the only one in the lab working there day to day, and that can be a very independent thing. Again, that's a very good thing if you're more introverted. Some people actually like following protocols, working with cells, being very independent. But for me personally, what I actually love is to talk to different people, to meet different people, to be very social, and I love having my day change every single day and doing what I'm doing change every single day. So the last reason being that working in a lab for me just didn't suit my personality. And for me, what actually sounds way better is being a medic, again, seeing patients every single day, change their lives, being sociable with people every single day, and then having, maybe half the day or 2 or 3 days out of the week dedicated to time in a lab doing research. That for me sounds absolutely perfect. I still want to continue doing research. As I told you guys, I still love, working in labs and stuff like that. But for me, doing that 7 days a week just didn't match who I was. So my ultimate goal one day as well would be to, do some research in a lab, spend some time there, but also make sure that I'm not spending too much time in my cells going crazy. Also spending some time meeting patients and meeting people as well. And that's another reason why I chose to pursue medicine over biomedical science. The next reason as to why I decided to pursue medicine is because medicine is not just a degree, it's actually a passport. And what I mean by that, I will explain later on, but for me personally, I've lived all around the world. I've lived in Kenya, I've lived in Japan, I've lived in so many different places, and some of you guys might know that from my videos, but I don't exactly know where I want to be in the next 10 years from now. I know that I want to be in medicine, I know I want to be a doctor for sure, but in regards to where I actually will be living, raising kids, having families, stuff like that, I'm not entirely sure. So for me, it's really important to have my geographical borders open and keep my options open in regards to where I want to live in the future. The amazing thing about medicine and being a doctor is you can pretty much guarantee yourself a job in any single country in the entire world, bar America. But if you do want to go to America, you can sit the entrance exams, but you literally have a passport to go into any single country in the world to work, because obviously healthcare and being a doctor is needed around the whole entire world. That ability to provide service to people wherever you are in the world, especially because of the fact that I'm multicultural, my parents are from different countries, my family lives all around the world, so the ability to move whenever I want to a different place and have a job there is so crucial to my career. Of course, course, being a biomedical scientist as well, you can get jobs elsewhere in the world, but to get a job as a biomedical scientist somewhere else in the world is one, more difficult, and two, you're probably more restricted to the developing countries, which do invest in research and do have laboratories for you to work in, rather than developing countries. And that for me is really important, because I may want to go back to Kenya one day, for example. I'm not entirely sure, which is a developing country. So for me, having the ability to travel to any country in the world, whether that might be a developing or a developed country, is so important for me personally. The last reason that I chose to go into medicine over biomedical science is because I didn't want to be limited by my job. Not saying that you are limited in biomed, but definitely medicine, you're able to do more than the job title of being a doctor is. For me personally, I didn't want to just be a doctor. I didn't want to just be a scientist. I want to be a doctor, a scientist, a teacher, a businessman, a philanthropist, a medical policy changer. There's so many different things that I want to do in this world, not just to do with science itself. And I felt like being a doctor really gives you that capability. For example, one of my interests as well is maybe doing some global health work, also maybe working with Doctors Without Borders. So having that degree, being medicine, really opens more doors than it would close. The thing with having a medicine degree is that it's a very relatable degree, it's a very transferable degree, and it's a degree that's highly sought after by many different companies. So if you decide, actually, I want to move out of medicine a little bit, I want to kind of dip my toes in the financial sector, go into finance, economics, wherever you want to go, having a medicine degree will put you in a really good position no matter what kind of field you want to work in as well. So for me, combining the fact that I can live anywhere in the world and also being able to do more than just be a doctor and go into like different types of interests I have was so important, and was one of the reasons why I chose to be a medic instead of a biomedical scientist. So that is pretty much it, guys. I know it's been a really long video, but I hope it's given you guys some food for thought as to, the things you might want to consider when you're looking into getting away from biomedical science, or maybe staying in biomedical science, or maybe going into something like medicine as well. There's loads of different factors you have to take into account. Like I mentioned, where you want to live in the future, what sort of day-to-day, life you want to have. There's so many things to think about, and I hope that this has made it easier for you guys in regards to making your decision about what you want to do in the future. If you have any questions at all, whether that might be in biomed or medicine or just generally, please leave a comment down below and let me know what you guys think. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.